Hillary Clinton earlier. Joining me now is CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Major Garrett, CBS Sunday Morning Correspondent Mo Rocca, and my colleague here at CBSN, Vladimir Duthier. Gentlemen, let's start with you, Major. What did you make of this speech?
Okay, so Hillary Clinton wanted to make this a speech about us, the country, not her. She's a singular force in American politics, first woman to become a major party nominee. And there is a sort of sheen of arrogance around her, according to her critics. So she tried to dispel that as much as possible by putting this entire campaign and even her slogan in this together in a larger, more unifying context, trying to soften that idea that it's just a regular old slogan. Also, going back to something that was said about her before in this convention, that she's an agent of change, that she's serious about bringing change. And one thing that I thought is a line that will be contextually important for her campaign and memorable when the speech is viewed by historians. When there are no ceilings, the sky is the limit. Also, again, trying to take the idea that her breaking the glass ceiling is not just about her, which it has been deeply personalized. Well, it's just Hillary Clinton's obsession with the glass ceiling. No, she's trying to say it's actually not my obsession. It's part of an American journey. And I thought those were the most important parts of the speech.
What about her attacks on Donald Trump? The one that stood out was the one about Donald Trump. Imagine him in the Oval Office, a man you can date with a tweet.
Said, yes.
He's not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons.
In keeping with the Clinton campaign's attempt to disqualify Trump from the presidency, meaning even if you like what he says, even if you think he might be a stronger leader, he's too much of a risk. And that aspect of risk and reward in politics is sort of essential to the dynamic of a presidential vote. Interesting thing about Trump and all of their reaction as the speech was going on, they want to frame this as change and outsider versus status quo and insider. And when I talked to the former mayor of New York, now Trump surrogate Rudy Giuliani, he said he's not really sure this election is going to be as ideological. He wants it to be not red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat, outsider versus insider. And the entire Trump campaign's reaction to this night and the culmination of this convention will be, these are the insiders. They're the ones who've been in power for 8 years. It will be an extension of the past 8 years. If you're satisfied with that, stay with it. But if you're not, the only avenue you have for real change is Trump. And that's how he will try to position himself against this speech and this convention.
You know, Major, it's interesting to that point, and Mo as well. I thought she gave a glimpse into that. She said that a lot of people that come to this podium are new to the national stage. I am not acknowledging that criticism that people have had of her. And I thought, you know, there was a lot of talk today about, are we going to see a glimpse into her inner life, her personal, who she is. And I thought that when she said that, you know, she's always been more of the public life as opposed to the personal life, acknowledging the criticism that
more service than the public. You know, I thought that there would be more biography because I thought the biographical
stuff
through the week
was enough.
The
Shonda Rhimes video wasn't enough?
Well, no, I thought that the Shonda Rhimes video was very good. I'm not sure that everyone saw it because I think on the network broadcast that was being covered a lot. I thought that story that she told about her mother as a 4-year-old was really moving, and I thought that that would have been interesting in the speech. But on the biography, one thing that's interesting in the text that we got, she left one line out. After she talks about being a first lady and serving 8 years in the Senate, then she says in the text, I ran for president and lost, and she dropped that line. Yeah. Maybe because she thought it was unnecessary. But off of what Major was saying about this idea of taking the long view, when she quoted Hamilton at the end, you know, we may not live to see the glory. Oh, do I have frosting on my lip?
You do.
Yeah, sorry. That's frosting. I may not live to see the glory. And I thought it's interesting taking such a long view because she had started with the Founding Fathers. And, of course, it's not as if it wasn't hard enough already to get tickets to Hamilton. Precisely. This is going to make it worse. But
and one other thing that struck me on the policy side, she was very specific about what immigration reform means to her. Citizenship. Not a path to legalization, not a green card, citizenship. That is a stark contrast with Donald Trump, who wants to deport 11 to 12 million Americans and build a wall. She said, not only we're not going to build a wall, but we're going to move toward comprehensive immigration reform defined by citizenship for those who are here illegally. And that is a strong declaration to all those looking at this debate where Hillary Clinton comes down on them. One other thing that surprised me is I thought there would have been more efforts to be specific with the Bernie Sanders supporters about where she is and where she won't go. For example, in the context of the conversation about the economy, she could have said, and guess what? I've told you I'm opposed to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I put my word to you now on the biggest stage I've ever been on. I'm against it. I'm going to stay against it, and you can trust me. Something like that would have been a complete declaration to the Bernie Sanders people. You have made a big issue out of this. I've heard you, and I stand with you. I was expecting a little bit more specificity to bring them, not just in the conversation, which she did, but make a commitment to them that they could hold her to.
But I don't know if you could hear, if people could hear at home. But from where I was standing, the 2 times that she mentioned Wall Street, and in general, when she was talking about the economy, you did hear dissenters,
yes.
right?
Yes,
and you know, I texted a friend of mine at home who said, "Oh, I can't hear it at all on the TV."
Look at a murmur, right?
Yeah.
Right, but there was real. Which anytime, basically, especially when General John Allen spoke, anytime you heard USA chants or Hillary chants come up at sort of odd moments, that's what was going on. It was to mask.
That was
the
Right, because the floor organizers deployed themselves in ways that they were not deployed last night to create the counter demonstration to protect Hillary and protect the moment from the few dissenters. But they were dissenting on economic policy. That's why I thought on TPP or something, say Wall Street or tax rates or something.
To try to,
I heard you. Hold me to it. I'm here.
Yeah, in fact, Elaine, the only time, or at least one of the rare times that she did talk about something that Bernie Sanders has been on the stump about for forever is Citizens United. She said that, that was a terrible Supreme Court decision, that if she's elected president, she will try to get that Supreme Court decision overturned. And you saw some of those folks who were dissenting sort of cheer, but there was a lot of signs out there: no fracking, no and WikiLeaks.
It was a big
WikiLeaks sign, right?
Interesting backdrop to the Citizens United Declaration, which is part and parcel of where Democrats are on this issue. Dave Bossie was the producer of the movie against Hillary Clinton that led to the Citizens United decision. He was an early advocate, I mean early advocate of Donald Trump getting involved in this race and has been a close advisor all along. That's just part of this dynamic. So when she throws down the gauntlet on Citizens United, Trump and Dave Bossie want to fight right back on that.
Sorry, Elaine, I was going to say one thing I thought might become a line that you hear a lot more is when she says Trump's America First slogans, and then she went on to list all the different moving parts of the Trump empire that are not fabricated in America. And at the end, she said, well, Donald Trump says he wants to make America great again. Well, he could start by actually making things in America again.
Line.
And a lot of people responded to that.
And the other line that was sort of like that, which I thought was a very smart line, it's also just a flat-out good line, is, but here's the sad truth. There is no other Donald Trump. This is it. Because as if to say there's not going to be any evolution, you're not going to find out more stuff.
Which people have said that there would be, right?
Right. The picture that you see is the final picture.
Yes, we've had that conversation on CBSN, I think 17,000 times.
Of what? Is there more to him?
Is there going to be an evolution? Are we seeing an evolution? Is he evolving? No. The answer is no.
Over and over again.
Yes.
No.
17,000 times
Repeatedly.
and one. No.
All right. Well, we always have to check, Major.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Very
And there's so many opportunities to do it.
Well,
on
stop being a Donald Trump creationist.
It's always
there
on.
is evolution.
I think I've heard that slogan.
So,
interestingly, Mo, picking up on that point, when she said all the places that they could be made but aren't, what do you know? Every single state was a swing state. Can you believe it? What are the chances? Michigan, Colorado, Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask you,
Clever.
Major,
Yes.
you talked about dynamic. What about the family dynamic that we saw, even just her entrance? We saw Chelsea Clinton basically give the speech introducing her. Then we saw the video, and then Chelsea Clinton brought her mother onto the stage, and they embraced. What was the message being sent there as Bill Clinton looked on, not on stage, but from the VIP box there?
That the spine and the central force of that family is the two women, not the male husband, father, or president. I think that sums it up. That's what they were telling the country. That the central life force and moral force, ethical force, strength, resilience of that family is the two women.
It's matrilineal, because then the departed mother, is also also part of that.
And I don't want to get too archetypal here or get way out in the clouds, but look, our history with the presidency is based on a father image. George Washington is the father of our country. Every president has been a man. Every nominee has been a man. The strength and the primacy of the father figure is now in sharp relief in this campaign. We have a dominant father, Donald Trump, and now a mother figure vying for the office for the first time in our history. And some of these archetypal issues are part of the conversation. And the way that this convention has talked about Hillary Clinton, owing some of her strength to the fact that she was a mother, is embracing that dichotomy and that difference. And I just think it's worth putting out there. We've never had this kind of archetypal and symbolic orientation toward the presidency of what is essentially a strong father versus a strong mother.
Right, which sounds like...
And I'm not setting that up comedically or anything like that. I just think it's something that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, and also, by the way, it makes it difficult to kind of to criticize her on style points for how she delivers a speech, because you realize, wow, wait a minute, you really can't compare it to anything that's happened before. When a woman raises her voice to make a strong point, it's likely to strike some people maybe as over the top or something, but it does feel unfair to make those kinds of criticisms, because she's the first.
That criticism has been made, yeah.
It has indeed.
Where sometimes the voice can become overmodulated and difficult.
In fact, Frank Luntz made that point to us today, Elaine. One of the things I was interested to hear if she was going to address was the recent controversy with Donald Trump over the suggestion that Russia hack into her emails. And I thought if she does it, it's going to be how will the crowd react? Because it's going to, again, bring to the surface, right, the issues that she's had, right? So I think she's even the Clinton camp, and Major, you've been on the road with Trump, but they seem to have even Josh Earnest today, just left it there, let everybody listen to Donald Trump's words. We're not going to comment on it. We're not even going to say anything.
Right. In that respect, Trump gave them the great escape hatch on this story.
Great escape hatch.
Because they don't have to talk about the emails anymore. They can just talk about what Trump said.
Right.
And Trump, in that respect, did them an enormous political favor.
Can I ask? I brought this up when you abandoned us for a few nights. Like all these
gallivanting, I think.
Gallivanting, exactly. Like a drunken sailor. My God. I can go back like 5 or 6 presidents, and they each have this kind of not origin story, but kind of origin story. A story that like Bill Clinton standing up to his abusive stepfather, Ronald Reagan dragging his father in from the snow, George H.W. Bush crashing into the Pacific. And she doesn't really have one, or she hasn't presented one. And all through the week, I wondered if it was going to lead up to something. Like the story of her going into that Alabama school is a great school. I wonder why she doesn't present that kind of a story, because it's a great story, and it says a lot about values and character.
Well, I don't have the absolute answer for that. I don't even have a partial answer for that, but I have a supposition, which is Hillary Clinton considers herself a strong woman. I was raised by a strong woman. And strong women tend to believe that the most important part of their story is their entire story.
Right.
Not a singular moment. They view their life and they view their struggles as part of a continuum, not as men frequently do.
Here's what I did.
Singular moments that can be separated out in arcs of time.
It's the sum of well, that's what I kept hearing, tenacity all through the week.
So that's a supposition. I don't know. I haven't talked to her speechwriters about it. I haven't obviously talked to her about it. But I was raised by a strong mother, and she considered her life a continuum.
So that the whole life is her PT 109, basically.
Right. She didn't have that one moment. Yeah. She looks at it as
and having conversations with strong women about this. Women kind of are tired of men choosing a singular moment as if that's the whole thing.
Yeah, Major, it's funny.
It's a hypersimplification for them, and
of course it is.
They don't really buy it.
Right.
Well, I think
half the time those things are made up anyway.
I will say this. I think that the moments of struggle, right, as she sort of spelled out here, are not in such stark, dramatic terms, that are still just as much a struggle sometimes, but what she laid out there was a series of these, and she said at one point, more than a few times, I've had to pick myself up and get back in the game. So she was equating her sort of experiences throughout her life with those things that everyday Americans try to get through, and the tenacity that they display. More than just that singular moment, like you're saying. I think that you're right, Major. There is sort of that tendency to view, as we heard, for instance, from the Democratic women of the Senate.
That's right.
Talk about her career and her passion for working for children.
And also President Obama yesterday talking about that, talking about how tough she is, how strong she is. And it's interesting, Major, because as you were saying that, I was just thinking about a story that I read in the New Yorker, and I've been talking about this kind of all day. Charles Bethia wrote the story about Hillary Clinton when she was at Wellesley, and she was the roommate during her freshman year of one of the first African-American students at Wellesley, Janet Hill, who's Grant Hill's mother, the basketball player. And even back then as a freshman in college, Ms. Hill said that she was thinking about leaving Wellesley because it was so difficult. She had come from the segregated South. And Hillary Clinton said, no, you have to stay. And just that story alone, when I first read it, I said, wow, why doesn't she talk more about that one thing? And I probably in my own head looked at it as a singular moment, and she probably just looks at it as the way she's always been her entire life's work, to your point there.